Hi guys, my name is Alexa Nguyendinh and I'm going to be talking about the profession of an educational sports psychologist. So what does an educational sports psychologist do? They utilize psychological techniques to improve performance for sports professionals. They help educate athletes about psychological skills and their body development. And they also help refine team dynamics, and they usually serve professional athletes as well as elite athletes. They have extensive training in exercise, sports science, physical education, kinesiology, and psychology. So there are two types of sports psychologists. There are educational ones and clinical ones as well. The two main differences are that the educational sports psychologist does not require one to be a licensed psychologist. And they typically, or their main job is to treat professional athletes to enhance their athletic performance. But for clinical sports psychologists, they are supposed to be licensed psychologists, and both psychologists do treat athletes in order to enhance athletic performance, but the clinical sports psychologists are more aimed towards athletes with emotional disorders, such as eating disorders, substance abuse, suicide, etc. So, for example, if an educational sports psychologist was seeing an athlete that had extensive emotional trauma or emotional distress, they would probably be referred to a clinical sports psychologist. So, the education and salary. So, this profession requires a master's degree in sports psychology, counseling, or any related fields such as kinesiology, sports medicine, etc. However, a doctorate degree is encouraged because you would get more benefits down the line, but that's completely up to you. Um, and then for salary, it can range from 60,000 to 80,000 a year. It really depends on where you work because a sports psychologist can work in various settings. And the average salary is 73,000 a year. So the different skills. So an educational sports psychologist has to have the mental skills, such as staying attentive, staying focused on the task at hand, goal setting, being motivational, because you are trying to enhance their athletic performance. You also have to enhance their self-confidence and self-esteem, and that will reflect onto their performance during games. Creativity and imagery, as well as emotional and energy management, sportsmanship, leadership, value in team cohesiveness. Because most of these athletes do belong to a team, an educational sports psychologist would have to be comfortable working in team settings. So they really have to value the teamwork. Yeah, and also counseling intervention. So some of the pros and cons. So some of the pros, it is a very fulfilling occupation. You get to visually see your patients getting better and improving with their performances. Ability to work in various facilities. So some examples would be a hospital, a sports team traveling with a sports team, or clinical practices. Just there's a lot of options for where to work. It's not as mentally draining as a clinical sports um, psychologist, just because you're not working with athletes with as emotionally heavy subjects, and you don't have to go the extra mile and become a licensed psychologist. Like, you don't have to do, like, yeah. And it is a decent pay rate, as well as you are being a part of a collaborative team, so that benefits on its own. And some of the cons, you do have to have extensive education and experience. Experience and training is very critical for this profession. Um, and like I said, opportunities are limited if only a master's degree is obtained. So a doctorate degree would give you more benefits in the long run. And you are unable to work with all individuals, just because you would have to refer the other patients to clinical if they do have emotional stresses, or yeah, extensive emotional stresses. And yeah, and then these are my references, and thank you for listening.